Brad, just what are some things you guys want to clean up this week ahead of Duluth?
Yeah, probably our play without the puck, our defensive play, and part of that is not only 5-on-5 but our penalty kill. That seems to give Colorado College a little momentum on Friday night there, and I think just situations our play away from the puck of being stronger defensively, which gives us a chance to have the puck, and it's been a pretty good foundation strength of ours, during the whole season, and obviously last weekend it wasn't. So I firmly believe our defensive play, tightening it up.
I know Ludwig's played a lot of games and how much he grinds off the ice too. Are there ways to try to keep him fresh for the stretch run, considering how much work he puts in?
100%. The reason why he's had success is because he invests in himself every day. He's a worker. He goes to the nth degree to be elite, which he is. And I think, this is a time of year that we have to be smart, and we have to make sure that, he has gas in the tank, and that, he's fresh for the games that he does play. And, that's part on us and part on him, as far as doing that. So you're exactly right. I think it's situations we got to monitor and give him a chance to be fresh. And I'm not saying he's running out of gas. I'm just saying that, I think just being mindful of him on the workload that he does in games and plus in practices. He's a worker. And again, we got to make sure that we monitor that.
Is it hard to tell a guy who's such a worker that he needs to slow down during the week?
Absolutely. And it's one of those things too, you remind him to getting out of the net, and he doesn't want to get out of the net. Like he wants the net, and he wants to keep the net. But, I think it's a situation it's my job where, hey, Ludwig, it's time to leave. It's time to get out of the net. Take a breath, and I think, hopefully if he hears the head coach talk to him a little bit about that, then it's okay. I got this. You're right. I got to get out of the net. So I think communication is a big thing. And, it's a reason why he is where he is, as far as having success, individually, of being a really good goalie. But now it's just being smart and mindful.
How's Hunter look this week? What's his status?
Yeah, he looks really good. I know we got him in a red jersey. He's skating every drill with us right now. He's questionable for the weekend, day to day here, but he's real close. And I think, it's one of those things where, it was a few weeks ago he went out of our lineup. We got to make sure we're doing the right thing. For us, like, we're going to have a long stretch. We're going to have a long run here down the stretch, and love to have him back in the games this weekend, and that still might happen. But if we don't have him in the games, I think it's a situation where we got to know that we have a really good chance to win games and have a long stretch and a journey down the road to make him be a part of that. So we'll monitor that over the course of the next day or two here too.
How's Keaton Pearson?
Yeah, you know what? I think there is a great chance he's going to play this weekend. He's skating. He took that heavy hit into the boards there, and I firmly believe he'll play this weekend.
What was the conversation you had with the officials after that about the game misconduct added to the 5-minute major?
100%. Yeah, when a guy goes in that heavy, and I don't care what it looks like. When you see numbers and you go in that way, the conversation is like, what does it take to get a game misconduct? At the end, and I guess I'm not going to go verbatim as far as what's been said back and forth, but I think there's plays that look innocent, that don't look in a situation where a guy's put in a vulnerable situation. But he was in a vulnerable situation, and again, it was one of their best players too that gave the hit, which allowed him to play back in the game, which allowed him to be an impact in the game. And again, I get it. We got to play against good players from start to finish. But when that play happens against a good player, it shouldn't matter who it is.
Minnesota Duluth's power play has been pretty good this season. Just what are some keys on the penalty kill against them?
Well, first of all, not take a bunch of penalties, right? We've been doing a pretty good job of that up until recently, taking penalties. But then again, just making sure everybody knows their job and their route, and all four guys being on the same page. And, we were giving up seam plays left and right. That's not us, and that's not guys being on the same page. And when I talk about tighter defensively, that's part of it, being tighter defensively as far as everybody knowing their job, not protecting the middle of the ice first, and you know what, if you have to give up perimeter, you give up perimeter, and you have to block a few shots. But those plays zinging across the middle of the ice, that's not us, and we got to make sure that we tighten that area up.
With the number of goals Steves has scored this year, do you consider matching lines in a weekend like this, or
Yeah,
how do you
it's obviously we're back at home now. We played against Denver, and we did a pretty good job of shutting them down. That top line and different things. But whether it's a checking line, whether it's one of four lines, whether it's the D-man, you got to recognize who you're playing against. Steves is one of their best players. He's a shooter. Open space he can create, whether it's passing or shooting. You got to recognize when the better players are on the ice. We did a good job, whether it's, like I said, whether it's a checking line, whether it's another line, whether it's a tandem of D out there, recognizing number 6 on the ice. And again, I think it's a situation where everybody's got to try to do the job.
Looking at the last 6 games to close out the regular season, the last 3 years, you guys have only lost twice. What is it about this final stretch that really makes you guys take it up an extra notch?
Focus. I see a lot of guys that care, a lot of guys that work extremely hard, and it's North Dakota, and that's what we are. We got punched in the face, we got knocked down this weekend. What's our response? What's our grit? What's our character? What's our mental toughness? It's a physical game, but it's a mental game, and I think that's what sets us apart from a lot of programs. Is when we get knocked down, we get up, we dust ourselves off, and we get back going again. And I firmly believe that'll happen this weekend.
When chatting with some of the guys yesterday, they really praised you in the sense of making sure that they tune out the outside noise and keep things in perspective. How do you, as a leader, make sure that they don't pay attention to that outside noise?
Well, just by keep talking about it, right? I love you all. I love the media. I love our fans. I think we got the best fans in college hockey. But there's high expectations in our program. I said, freshmen, you guys all came here because you wanted 2 things. You wanted to win national championships, and you wanted to develop to get to the NHL level. And along comes that with a lot of pressure. There's a lot of expectations here. When the days are good, you win games. When the days aren't so good, you don't win games, and you got to handle that. And how we handle it is together as a group, and we buffer it with just keeping that group of 26 guys in that locker room tight, and just believing in what we do, believing in each other. And this is a time right now where we dropped a couple of games on the road. No big deal. We just got to make sure that we stick together and we do the things that we do, and don't let anything else on the exterior affect kind of what we do. And that's a mental thing.
You guys have been dominant in the third period this year defensively, last week and aside. What does it take to get back to that closing out games?
Yeah, just having that mindset of, everybody doing their job and taking a part of it. We talk about stacking shifts together positively, and I think that's firmly what you have to do. And, I think chasing games is tough. At the end of the day, of getting leads, it's a big deal, and sustaining that and keep building on that. And when momentum shifts, you got to try to get that back as quick as you can. And I think that's part of it. Just everybody believing that we got to get the momentum back and go from there, and not let it drag into a goal, another goal, another goal. You got to stop that quick. We scored a goal in Colorado, I think, on Saturday night, and you know what? Next shift they scored one. That's the response you need, and we usually have that. But at the end of the day, you have to have that response or that resiliency to get back on the horse again.
Talk about goal scoring. How has Cameron Berg been almost automatic for you guys the last few weeks?
Doing the things he does on a consistent basis. He talked about a mentally strong young man. Just believing in himself, believing in what we do, and just playing a consistent brand of hockey and not being something that he's not. He's a north-south guy. He's a guy that plays extremely hard. He's got strong hands. He wants to score. He wants to be the guy, and he is. And at the end of the day, he's having a great career here so far, just because of staying true to who he is.
Then last one for me, just how this still feels like a rivalry, even though there's some separation of the standings with you in Duluth.
100% it is. It seems like everyone in our league is a rival. It is. I mean, you go to Denver, you go to St. Cloud, you go to Duluth right now. This is an old WCHA rivalry. It's 2 teams that play extremely hard, 2 teams that kind of play the same way. And it usually comes down to power play and penalty kill, which, their team, obviously they're doing well on both of them, and we are as well. So it's a situation where, every facet of the game is going to be so important, and everybody's got to be all in.
We just talked with Abram and had that goal on Saturday, and it's just a good reward for him for the work he's put in. But when you look at his freshman season, what has maybe impressed you about Abram from from the start when you were recruiting him to what he's come into here in his freshman year?
Well, let's start at his character. Outstanding young man. Like, such a great young man in every regard. He makes everybody else around him better. Positive in his approach. When you ask me, a freshman coming in to play the minutes he has, doesn't happen a whole lot, right? At the end of the day. But it goes back to things further than that. It goes back to, hey, Abram, you played a couple of years of junior. Are you willing to play one more year of junior so that you can come in and be that impactful guy and play in a top 4 role setting? Yeah, coach, I'll do whatever you ask. I believe in you. I believe in North Dakota. He does that. He goes back and plays a 3rd year of junior. I think that was so critically important for him to have the success he's having right now. You look at Jake Livanovich, same thing. The guys that spend time to hone their skills and develop to make sure they're ready to play primetime hockey in the NCHC at North Dakota is a big thing. So him having some success this year, or what he's doing, that goal he scored, a big tribute to his development path before he came here and what he has done here. So again, like I said, he's patient in the process, and he's a guy that's only going to get better. Good.
I have one.
Oh,
Sorry.
I apologize.
You're good. There definitely wasn't a lack of effort in getting the puck to the net this past weekend. 68 total shots, but only 3 of them finding the back of the net. The guys were talking about re-identifying that net front presence. For you, how important is that gritty position of taking away the goalie's eyes to get more grade A opportunities?
Critical. You saw the polar opposite this weekend. We didn't get to the net as much. Credit their goaltender. He's an outstanding goaltender. But you know what? We didn't get to the net as much as we should have. And polar opposite on the other side of it, they got to the net on us, where we didn't box out. We didn't do things consistently to help Ludwig out. Have to have it. We have to make sure we get to the paint. The games that were won and lost by that grade A scoring area of going to the hard and heavy areas. We got to do a better job of defensively in front of our net, and we got to do a better job of going to the opposition's net. It's critical. It's the difference of the games.
What was the intensity and response like in practice this week coming off the Colorado college trip?
Intense. It was heavy. It was guys knew it was a workmanlike attitude. And again, I want to make sure you know that it's just not mindless drills that we're doing here to berate the players. These are specific structured drills to get what we need from our players, and the years go up. We have these basic drills that we start a practice. That we call them play away from the puck drills, that there has to be some urgency in your play, and our guys were all about it. They were intense, and sometimes in practice when you go against a teammate, you let off a little bit. You don't want to hurt somebody or whatever, but they were respectful to each other, but they play hard against each other, and I think that's the message you have to have, that it has to happen in practice, because that's what happens in games.
How can you guys kind of grow from that adversity going forward, and what's going to be obviously a very critical stretch?
Yeah, you know what? It's a situation where you got to identify. There's got to be a message, and there's got to be communication. We just talked about the net front. That was a message to our guys early on that we have to get better at. And if you just say, hey, you know what? We got to be better. Like, what does that mean? Like, you got to give the players a message, a plan, so that we can prepare and finally execute it down the stretch. Our guys are all in. They did a really good job of handling that message. In team meetings and on the ice right now. Now it's our job to execute. We have to execute what we planned and we prepared for.
Thanks, Coach.
Can I get one more?
Yep, you bet.
Brad, Saturday they'll be honoring Ryan Duncan. Can you kind of talk about what he did for this program and how he embodied what it means to be a North Dakota hockey player?
Yeah, that's a loaded question with a lot of information I can share with you. Let's probably go back to before Ryan Duncan came here. Bob Duncan, his dad, playing here, was a big part of the culture at North Dakota. Recruited Ryan Duncan out of Shattuck St. Mary's. Obviously, they had a lot of good players, Stafford, Taves, maybe. At the end of the day, he chose to come to North Dakota for a lot of reasons. His dad came here, the culture, the tradition. But, I admire Ryan Duncan for Ryan Duncan, because he had some really good players around him here. And I go back to the story, and you guys probably already heard this, but he was playing on the line with Jonathan Taves and T.J. Oshie, both NHL players, probably Hall of Fame players at some time in the NHL. And he wins the Hobey Baker. and he gets up on the podium and they ask him the question, what's it like to be the best player in the country? And his response was, best player in the country? I feel like I'm the third best player on my line. That's North Dakota. That's the humility. That's the respect that he has for other people. And I'll tell you what, like, he was here and played with those guys. Well, those guys left. Well, the very next year he was here and he had other players around him. He didn't have to rely on Jonathan Taves and TJ Oshie. He did it on, I didn't want to say on his own, but with other players. That he said, you know what, I can replicate that. And that tells me a lot about, hey, I'm not here just for the ride or on somebody's coattails. I can do it as well, even if they're not here. So again, that says a lot about him. And he's such a true player in our culture, and it's nice that we get to honor him here with his family this weekend.